The wind screamed across the frozen tundra of the Oregon Cascades, a relentless blade carving through the endless white void, where a shattered veteran clung to the edge of survival. In the grip of the deadliest freeze of the season, a wounded German shepherd did not just limp through the storm. It dragged itself forward with a fierce, unyielding will, pulling a broken man toward a forgotten outpost buried in the ice. What waited inside was not just shelter. It was a lifeline from the grave, a final gift from a brother lost to war that would stitch together the ragged edges of a soul long thought beyond repair. Please support us by subscribing to the channel. We uncover stories like this that remind us hope hides in the harshest places. The cold was a thief, silent and insidious, stealing breath and will in equal measure. It seeped through the chinks in the log walls of the cabin, turning the air inside to a crystalline sharpness that bit at the lungs with every inhale. Outside, the world had surrendered to the freeze. It was not the roaring blizzard of fresh snow, but a deeper, more merciless quiet, where the tundra stretched like a vast, indifferent sea of ice-crusted drifts. The Cascades, those ancient guardians of the Pacific Northwest, now loomed as indifferent sentinels, their peaks lost in a perpetual haze of frost. This was no season for the living. It was a tomb for the forgotten. Jacob Thorne, Jake to the ghosts who still whispered in his dreams, huddled at the scarred wooden table that served as throne and confessor in his exile. At 40, he was a shadow of the ranger who had once scaled sheer cliffs under enemy fire, his frame gaunt from years of rationed meals and relentless hunger of the spirit. His brown hair, cropped short from muscle memory, was threaded with silver, and the beard that shadowed his jaw carried the unkempt weight of indifference. Those deep blue eyes, once sharp with the focus of command, now dulled with a weariness that mirrored the frost patterns etching the single window pane. He wore layers of faded wool and flannel, relics from a life before the discharge, before the nightmares claimed the nights. On the table lay the letter, its edges curling like dying leaves in the chill draft. It was a foreclosure notice, crisp and unyielding as a field dressing on a mortal wound. Immediate eviction, it declared in sterile black ink, severing the last tether to this fragile sanctuary. 7 years. 7 years since Afghanistan, since the valley that swallowed Leo whole. Jake's fingers traced the paper's folds, worn smooth from endless rereads, each pass stirring the ash of old failures. He had failed the mission. He had failed to shield his brother in arms. He had failed to rebuild a life stateside. Jobs lost to the fog of flashbacks, connections frayed by isolation. This cabin, perched on the tundra's edge, had been his final redoubt, a place to vanish into the white. Now, even that was forfeit. The silence pressed in, heavier than the cold. In its void, Leo's voice echoed, unbidden. It was a low chuckle cutting through the din of imagined gunfire. "Hey, Jake, you look like hell. What is the plan, brother? We do not quit. We adapt." Leo, with his easy grin and unshakable calm, the strategist who would turn a rout into a rally. But Leo was gone, dust in a sun-baked canyon, his last words a choked gasp amid the chaos of an ambush gone catastrophically wrong. Jake had carried the body home, but the weight of that valley clung to him still, a phantom rucksack dragging him under. The tundra outside mirrored it all, vast, unforgiving, indifferent to the pleas of the lost. Miles away, in the huddled streets of Pine Ridge, where the freeze spared no one but the illusion of warmth lingered in sodium-lit windows, an old man waged a quiet war against the inevitable. Samuel Croft, pushing 78, stood by his frost-laced window, his frame wiry as barbed wire, face etched with the deep furrows of Korea's mud and forgotten patrols. A veteran of a quieter hell, he knew the shape of despair, the way it hollowed a man from the inside out. His eyes, faded green and steady, flicked to the calendar. The dates circled in faded red, a marker of time's cruel accounting. From a drawer, he retrieved the journal, its leather cover cracked like old boot soles. Leo's script filled the pages. Bold, looping letters from a man who had planned for every shadow. If the cold comes hard and he starts slipping, send Kaiser. The outpost is his anchor. Samuel's rasp of a sigh fogged the glass. He had promised Leo, in the dim hospital room where life ebbed like a retreating tide. Now, With whispers from town of the bank's hounds closing in, the hour had struck. He crossed to the back room, where a thick wool blanket muffled the floorboards. There, on a pallet of his own making, stirred Kaiser. The German shepherd, a decade of scars mapping his sable and silver coat like a veteran's tattoos. At 10, he moved with the deliberate grace of a sentinel, his body a testament to trials endured. A limp from a long-ago shrapnel kiss, eyes like burnished amber that pierced souls rather than begged. No mere dog, Kaiser was forged in the fires of deployment, a partner who had shared foxholes and firestorms, his loyalty a covenant sealed in blood and paracord. Time, old warrior, Samuel murmured, his gnarled hand finding the dog's ear in a ritual scratch. Kaiser rose, a low rumble in his chest. Not pain, but affirmation. He nudged Samuel's palm, amber gaze locking with the old man's in silent pact. A whine escaped, brief and resolute, as if acknowledging the storm's teeth. Samuel clipped a fresh paracord collar around his neck. Their unit's mark, woven in king cobra knots during endless desert nights. Find him, boy. Leo is counting on it. On you both. Kaiser turned, paused silent on the threshold, and plunged into the tundra. The wind clawed at him, ice crystals lashing his flanks, but he pressed on, a silver specter carving a path through the white hell. Each step tested the wound in his foreleg, a fresh tear from jagged ice, blood freezing in crimson beads. Yet purpose burned brighter than pain. He was the bridge, the emissary from the grave, dragging forward what the cold sought to bury. Back in the cabin, the embers in the hearth had surrendered to gray ash, casting Jake's world in twilight gloom. The letter lay crumpled in his fist, a talisman of defeat. His mind wandered treacherous paths. The door unlatched, a final step into the freeze, letting the tundra claim what the war had spared. It would be mercy, this ending. Clean, quiet, absolving. Then, a scrape. Faint at first, like claws on frozen wood, swallowed by the wind's low moan. Jake froze, instincts flickering like a struck match in the dark. Another scrape, insistent, paired with a guttural whine that clawed through the silence. A cry not of weakness, but of iron will. He rose, joints protesting the cold's vice, and crossed to the door. The latch fought him, frost sealed, but he wrenched it open. A gale of sub-zero air erupted inward, carrying flakes that stung like shrapnel. There, collapsed in a drift of snow against the threshold, was the dog. Kaiser. Massive even in exhaustion, his coat a frozen mosaic of silver and white, one foreleg tucked awkwardly, dark blood staining the ice beneath. His chest heaved in ragged symphony, but those amber eyes, God, those eyes, locked onto Jake's with a clarity that defied the storm. No lost strays panic. This was focus, forged in fire. Jake's ranger reflexes surged, overriding the numbness. He knelt, gloved hands parting the icy fur, probing with clinical efficiency. A gash, deep but not fatal, torn by rock or ice, now caked in frost. The dog did not flinch, only held that gaze, as if measuring the man before him. And then Jake saw it. The collar, olive-drab paracord, knotted in the intricate cobra weave of their unit. A relic from downtime in the sandbox, when boredom birthed these talismans of brotherhood. Tethers against the abyss. His breath caught, a hitch in the frozen air. Fingers trembled as they traced the knots, memory flooding back. Leo's hands, steady and sure, demonstrating the weave under a merciless sun. Keeps us tied, Jake. No man left behind. This was not chance. This was Leo. His ghost, his contingency, manifest in fur and unbreaking stare. The world narrowed. The tundra, the letter, the encroaching dark, all receded. In their place, a spark. Not hope, not yet, but purpose. A summons from the man who had never truly left. Kaiser stirred under his touch, lapping weakly at the water Jake pressed to his muzzle from a thawed canteen. The cabin filled with the dog's labored breaths, a counterpoint to the wind's howl. Jake built the fire anew, flames clawing back shadows, and bound the wound with strips from an old shirt. Field dressing skills undimmed by disuse. As warmth seeped in, Kaiser pushed to his feet, shakes sending droplets scattering like spent casings. He limped to the door, not with plea, but command. Pausing to glance back, amber eyes insistent. The war inside Jake raged. Stay, and let the freeze win. Eviction, oblivion, the easy surrender to ghosts. Follow, and step into the unknown. A trek through the tundra's maw, trusting a wounded beast with eyes like Leo's own. Faith was a luxury he had bankrupted long ago. But the collar burned against his palm, and in Kaiser's stance, he saw the valley again. Not the ambush, but the unbreakable line they had held. Brother to brother, man to dog, ranger to mission. No words passed. Jake moved like clockwork reborn, rummaging his corner cache for gear. Insulated parka, scarred from old patrols. Boots crusted with memory, pack stuffed with essentials. A blade honed to lethality, tinder for fire, med kit patched with duct tape. He slung it over one shoulder, the weight familiar, grounding. Kaiser whined once, low and urgent, then nosed the door ajar. Together, they stepped into the white. The tundra unfolded like a predator's jaw. Drifts thigh-deep, wind a horizontal lash that tore at exposed skin. Visibility shrank to arm's length, the world reduced to boot falls and breath clouds. Kaiser led, his limp pronounced now, each step a drag that left crimson flecks in the snow. Jake followed, one hand on the dog's collar, the paracord a lifeline in the chaos. The cold clawed deeper, numbing fingers and doubt alike, but the dog's resolve was a lodestar. Halting at invisible cues, circling to check his charge, amber eyes flashing in the gloom. Flashbacks struck like crosswinds. Leo in the hello, sketching outpost chords on a napkin. Backup plan, Jake. If it all goes south, there is a site. Off-grid, stocked. For the ones who make it home. Jake had dismissed it then, bravado masking the fear. Now, trudging through the freeze. Those words thawed something frozen in his chest. The dog stumbled, a yelp escaping, and Jake scooped him up, the massive frame heavy as guilt. Easy boy. We are getting there. For the first time in years, the words were not hollow. They carried a vow. Hours blurred into endurance's forge. The wind howled prophecies of defeat, ice glazing their path in treacherous sheets. Jake's mind wandered treacherous trails. The ambush's roar, Leo's final cry, the hello's futile thump. But Kaiser's whine pulled him back. A beacon in the whiteout. Then, purpose sharpened. A shadow ahead, not drift but stone. A sheer face of granite, veiled in hoarfrost. Dead end. Jake's heart sank, frostbite's whisper urging retreat. Kaiser did not falter. With a pained lunge, he pawed a seam in the rock. Precise, unerring. A click, muffled but unmistakable, reverberated through the ice. A hum stirred, mechanical heartbeat from the mountain's gut. The seam widened, a steel slab grinding aside on hidden tracks, exhaling stale, warmed air. Light spilled, harsh fluorescence flickering to life, revealing the outpost. A bunker carved from the cliff, 20 by 30 of reinforced concrete, humming with forgotten tech. Jake staggered in, Kaiser collapsing at his feet, as the door sealed the storm outside. The space was a time capsule. Cots bolted to walls, shelves groaning under MREs and cold weather gear, a generator's low purr sustaining the glow. But it was the corner station that stopped him. A field desk, laptop humming dormant, stack of envelopes bound in twine. Leo's script on the top. For Jake. When you are ready. Trembling, Jake tore it open. Letters spilled. Dozens, pinned in stolen moments stateside. Missed you at the reunion, brother. Kaiser has got your 6 now. A USB drive, labeled the plan. He plugged it in, screen blooming to life. Leo's face filled it. Haggard but grinning. Filmed in a motel room months before the end. If you're seeing this, Jake, it means I did not make it back. But you did. And that is the win. This outpost. It is not just bug out. It is a hub. I built it with Samuel Croft's old unit ties. Gear for vets like us, lost in the cold. Letters to brass, grants lined up. And a network. Guys waiting for a call from someone who has been there. The words landed like shrapnel in reverse. Piercing, then mending. Leo's voice cracked the ice in Jake's soul. You are not broken, man. You are the shield. Use this. For me. For us. A final line, voice thick. Kaiser's the key. He knows the way. Now you do too. Tears froze on Jake's cheeks as he knelt by Kaiser, binding the wound afresh with Outpost supplies. The dog licked his hand, amber eyes soft now, mission complete. Outside, the tundra waited, but inside, purpose bloomed. Raw, insistent. Jake fired up the sat phone, dialing Samuel's number from the journal. Croft? It is Thorne. Leo. He left a hell of a gift. Dawn crept, gray light filtering through slits in the rock. Jake stood taller, pack restocked, Kaiser at his side. Limp fading under care. The foreclosure? A footnote now. The network hummed to life in his mind. Vets reached, stories shared, a chain unbroken. Leo's outpost was not shelter. It was a forge, hammering despair into resolve. For the first time in 7 years, Jake felt the valley recede. Not erased, but integrated. A scar, strong as paracord. He stepped out, the door sealing behind. Tundra no longer tomb, but proving ground. Kaiser pressed close, a warm flank against the wind. They moved as one, man and dog, living in legacy, toward Pine Ridge, toward the fight renewed. If this story of unbreakable bonds and hidden healing moved you, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We bring you more tales of resilience from the edge. Like if you have got a story of your own to share in the comments. What is the outpost in your life? Stay strong out there.